Mark emailed me with some suggestions for the agenda. Is there something about the Thayer HVAC project that the committee needs to discuss? Unfortunately, the people I would discuss it with are the two people who aren't here. And then, should we talk about what needs to be done to move the town office building envelope improvements forward? I looked into that today, and so we can talk about that. Mark, you said I put together some solar ideas for the R&S committee for the sustainability plan. Is that some of the stuff that we were just looking at in this multicolored document?
Yes.
Okay.
Let me, Howie, really just for people who, I think there are a couple of people who haven't been involved in the sustainability plan discussion. The Resiliency and Sustainability Committee developed a sustainability plan 2.5 years ago that was ultimately adopted by the town to look at what the town could do to reduce the town government and the community's carbon footprint and to prepare for the implications of climate change. And as part of that process included participating in a partnership with the state, what the acronym is GOPIP, the Governor's Office of the Future and Policy Initiatives, which has been providing funding for various kinds of projects. That partnership with the state has a 2-year life. If the town wants to continue to be eligible to receive funds, and we actually have gotten a number of grants through that activity, then the sustainability plan needs to be updated. The, let's call it existing plan, includes a priority project to investigate the feasibility of developing a town-owned solar array to meet the town's electric needs, and suggests that that be looked at in terms of a site behind the recycling center on the former landfill. So the R&S committee met 2 hours ago to look at updating the sustainability plan, and I think the question that they would like direction from this committee is whether the town still wants to pursue the idea of a town-owned solar array to meet the town's electric needs. That's totally independent from this discussion of the possibility of leasing Mitchell Field, 15 acres of Mitchell Field for a commercial array. And if so, if the town should continue to want to explore a town solar array, what should the parameters of that be? And so that's kind of one of the items. And Howie, I think you got an email from Christie on the building envelope improvements. And I got an email from her to say there's nothing that really needs to be done with respect to their project to replace the HVAC system at this point.
Give me one sec here. Okay, so, right, so the first item on that list, the Thayer HVAC project, we don't really have anything we need to address tonight. And just real quick, I mean, Christie said that, I had talked to her about having Tim Clark just coordinate with John and David about the envelope improvements in case they had any feedback on what needed to be done, if he needed any advice on what the punch list was about or anything like that. And what Christie said today was, it's summer, it's too hard to coordinate that, we'll do it soon, which makes sense. And I sent Tim and Denise the list and the memo that we sent to the select board, just for their reference. Denise when I called, I got Denise and she said, oh, send it to me. He's never in the office and he's
Right.
way behind on emails, so
Right.
send it to me and I'll look at it. So I think that's where that stands, and that'll, get taken up in the near future, and, there's progress made. I don't think the new door is in, other than it's in the lobby, in the back lobby. The new door is here, it hasn't been installed yet, but some of the stuff has been started, and I explained to Tim in that email that the list that we put together was to group the different items into several things that you would put out to bid with multiple items in them, because they would be attractive to a particular type of contractor, as opposed to having this big list and having people just sort of say, well, I want to bid on 2 and 5. We said, here, it's this, and this. And that would be, simplify things for them, putting it out for bid. So I think that just pretty much leaves us with these solar questions, which I think there are 2. One is the thing from the Resilience and Sustainability Plan, and the other is an update on the Mitchell Field 5, 10, 15 acre proposal. I think at our last meeting, we handed that back to the select board and said, put out an request for expressions of interest, and let's take it from there. Gary was at that meeting and wanted to know why we only said 5 acres instead of 5, 10, and 15, and I got up and said, okay, you can, it's up to the select board at this point anyway, but if they want to make it 5, 10, or 15, they're welcome to do that, so.
Well, there's a proposed warrant article, as I was trying to say, for up to 15 acres to
Okay.
be approved by the town.
So I thought that the sequence would be, like, the idea was to put a very short deadline on the expressions of interest, and then see what we got, and then think about a warrant article.
Well,
Is
the
it
timing
too-
for the warrant article is kind of tight. We need to do that if we're going to do it in November. So I don't know, Mark, have we heard from anybody?
I don't, all as I can tell you is I asked Christie that question, last Tuesday or Wednesday. She said the only, people that she had heard anything from was Revision. She had not gotten any, formal expressions of interest, nor had she, received any questions or anything about it. And so, but that's a week-old information. Matt, have you heard anything more up to date on that?
Not, I've probably been emailed something, but not something I've been keeping track of super well.
So the issue is, there's going to have to be a public hearing, and the timing here is, for the November vote, has got to be, we've got to get things done. So it, this coming Thursday, we're looking at several items that will be in that, on the November vote. So,
Day after
and that's
tomorrow,
one of them.
Select board meeting.
Right, yeah, and that's one
And
of them.
so everyone is aware, this will be, and Dave, correct me if I'm going astray here, this will be a town meeting by referendum vote
Secret ballot vote,
at
correct,
the November presidential election.
correct.
There will be no open town meeting, no discussion of the warrant articles at that time.
Correct,
Um,
but there will be a
and
public hearing.
Because of that, the lead time for going through the process and having absentee ballots available, I think it's 30 days before
Yep,
the referendum vote. There's about a 60-day lead time, which gets us to having to have everything that's gonna be voted on wrapped up, the ballot prepared by early September.
you said it well. Good job.
So the ballot will be prepared, but then there'll be a public meeting at some point
There'll
between
be a public
now
hearing,
and
correct, yeah.
November
and-
5th.
And the vote will be in November, yeah.
Actually, do you know, I suppose maybe the public meeting needs to be before early voting starts, or no?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so it has to be sometime in September.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. The other one was, in the sustainability plan. So, just to give a little more background on the sustainability plan that Mark was just talking about, the layout of the plan is based on an outline from the state with, I think, like 8 areas. Was it, there were 8 strategy areas, I think, if I remember correctly.
That's correct.
And strategy area C, the third one, is reduce emissions through clean energy innovation. I believe what I'm looking at here is proposed new wording on the we're in the process of revising, updating it after it's been out for 2 years. So it says, explore a town solar array. The town currently uses solar energy through participating in a community solar farm in another community. That's the Nautilus farm that we're getting our credits from. There was no upfront cost to the town, and the town receives a discount on its electric supply charge. The town can opt out of this arrangement at any time with prior notice. Exploring the possibility of developing a town-owned array to meet the town's electric needs has previously been identified as a priority. If the committee desires to continue with this concept, here's a possible revised approach for moving this forward, but this hasn't been discussed with the Energy and Technology. The committee mentioned there is the Sustainability, Resilience and Sustainability Committee. So the suggestions or the guidance, I guess, that's proposed from the Sustainability Committee to us is drop the concept that this should be on a specific piece of town property and open it up to town-owned land or other sites that the town could lease or otherwise get access to for this purpose. Do a preliminary financial analysis of the long-term costs and benefits of a town-owned solar array compared to the current arrangement. If there is a potential financial benefit for developing a town-owned array, proceed with a feasibility study to look at the parameters of the array, potential sites, and long-term costs and benefits. If a viable site and array is identified, move forward with the financing, design, and permitting of the project. So that's what they're asking us at this point. That's a possible approach, and that's where we would be involved in.
Yeah, and Howie,
Yeah.
that was my pull it out of the air idea. And
Okay.
my understanding, and I'm a little bit out of date on this, is that the economic feasibility of municipal solar proposals of this type revolve around having a second or third party, whatever you want to call it, be the actual developer of the facility so that they can take advantage of the income tax benefits from depreciation and presumably the brownfield credits and whatever, that if it were a municipal facility, municipally owned facility, those income tax benefits don't exist. And so I'm kind of out of date on where that is because the whole issue of community solar cooled off a couple of years ago. But I think the question is, if the town has to pay the full capital cost of developing a solar array without any ability to take advantage of the income tax credits, does it still make financial sense? I don't know the answer to
Well-
that. Maybe you, Howie, or other people on the committee that are more up to date know that better than I do, but I think that's a fundamental question in my mind.
So my understanding is that they've changed the way that's done, and it is available as a rebate as opposed to a tax credit. I believe that's the case for the purposes of entities that don't pay taxes. I'm not 100% certain, but my understanding is that they had addressed that issue because it was causing it to be overly complicated. I will say that as I think about this, there may still be something of an advantage to having it financed by a third party, only because, for example, they can not only get the tax credit for, the income tax credit for the cost of it, they can also write off the depreciation. So there may still be a somewhat larger benefit to a commercial entity that is financing it. I don't know, but that would be in Section B in this, do a preliminary financial analysis. So, it's the usual thing that we've been dealing with for the last many years, that faster than we can figure out what we want to do, everything changes. The community solar arrangements actually gave us an opportunity to do something fairly straightforward and simple without a lot of, without having to figure out a whole lot about it, because there it was. We just had to go find someplace that had space for us and sign up for it. In the short run, it's not a bad deal at all. We get, we're consuming energy that's being generated from solar, and we're saving some money. But in the long run, we would save more to go, if we were to build our own, but, we'd have to maintain it. Although I think that you probably farm out to Revision, or, get the, you just get a maintenance agreement with them to take care of it. But, for a town that doesn't even have its own police department or snowplows, it's sort of kind of out of scale in a lot of ways. But the thing is that after a matter of 6 or 8 or 12 years, depending on how you finance it and whatever, you've recouped the cost and you continue to get basically free electricity for another 15 or 20 years. So, I mean, in the long run, it makes sense. And then the question is, where does it go? I think Mitchell Field is going to be another thing that will just take forever to resolve.
Be another LNG issue, I'll tell you that.
Right. So, but, we walked around back up here behind the transfer station, and it's not ideal. It's not, it's not flat like the South Portland has a big solar array on their capped landfill. it's kind of a big mound, and so it's not as easy to put stuff on.
So
especially
half of
with-
it is south-facing, the other half is north-facing.
Right,
So the half of the mound would be
right.
fine.
So, I mean, we could look into other options. You know, putting a bunch of solar panels on top of the recycling center and putting a canopy over this parking area and maybe the recycling area, parking area. You know, that might be an option to get us roughly the number of solar panels we need for the, you know, for the town's electricity. I don't know. That would be the sort of thing we'd have to look into.
How many acres does the south facing have of the landfill?
Maybe an acre. It's not enough.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, another possibility is, you know, the 200 acres up here, find 5 acres that no one can see from anywhere
Right.
and put some solar
Yep.
up there. Matt, you said that there were other things that we could consider,
Well,
I other than solar.
yeah, I mean, there are a lot of options out there. I think that most of them are probably infeasible cost-wise and would probably have just as many questions as installing a solar field would have. So, you know, I think solar is one of those things that people are getting very accustomed to and are starting to see in more and more places. You know, with the state starting to put them in on ramps and off ramps in those areas. You know, people are seeing them in a lot more places, and I think they're getting more acclimated to the idea of it. A lot of the other options that would work would probably face more scrutiny just because of where they would need to be located and the side effects that they have. You know, solar panels are generally quiet and low to the ground, whereas a lot of the other options, you know, might.
Wind turbines are noisy and up in the air.
Yeah, right. And a lot of sea-based stuff in general can be disruptive to boats, animals, and everything in between. So, you know, I think the other option is, do we need something in town? Or do we just continue to purchase it from elsewhere? And if we outgrow that need.
Well, I mean, another advantage to being just a subscriber to a solar farm, which, you know, kind of the difference between leasing and owning essentially, is that the capacity can be adjusted. We're looking at putting a couple of big heat pumps possibly in this building, which that's an electric consumption that was not included in the calculation for when we signed up for Nautilus. John says that, well, the efficiencies of the new system will be such that it won't really increase the amount of electric usage. I find that hard to believe.
Right.
It's going to be extracting heat out of cold air. It's going to consume some electricity. And even if the new fans are more efficient, they're a drop in the bucket compared to what the you know, what the heat pumps should be drawing. But you know, so there's that advantage that as you know.
Well, the heat pumps will replace oil.
Yeah. Right, so we'll be using less oil, and it'll probably save money and carbon dioxide. But I think it's gonna consume more electricity than the building is now consuming, because that's, you know, that's not in the current electricity budget. But, so again, you know, that would be, the flexibility of joining, you know, one of these solar farms can be an advantage. I will say that after we joined the solar farm, we replaced the street lights with the LED street lights, which cut our street light electricity consumption. And apparently, it's been an ongoing battle to get the credits shifted to other usage. The credits are going into the street light account at, you know, at the rate they were originally calculated, and we're at risk of forfeiting some of those. And CMP blames the solar farm and the solar farm blames CMP, and somebody blames the PUC, and on and on and on. It seems like it should be trivial to make that change, but the fact that, that's just a caveat that the flexibility doesn't seem to actually be there that was promised. In any case, so, the question is, back to where we were before, but without quite the immediate pressure, because we are getting solar electricity now, but should we reconsider and look? I mean, the other disadvantage of the solar farm is that the cost of the credits is based on CMP's rates, even though solar farms' expenses do not go up when natural gas prices double, which is what happened to the electric prices around here, which was essentially a gigantic windfall for the solar farms, because their costs did not go up a bit, and suddenly people were paying 30 or 50% more for the credits for the exact same circumstance. So anyway, this owning your own solar farm, basically, it's a capital expense, a small maintenance expense, and you get your electricity. So that's the big trade-off. Anyway, so I don't know, Mark. Anything else?
Yeah, I think there are two issues for you as the committee. One is, should the sustainability plan continue to propose that the town investigate the feasibility of creating a town-owned solar array to meet the town's electric needs? And if the answer is yes, should that proposal in the sustainability plan be, I'm going to call it reworked to make it a little broader and less directive as opposed to the relative to the location and how it might work?
Well, of course, we'd have to come up with the money for that, and one of the other items on the November ballot coming up is a bond for the boat launch.
For the boat launch.
The boat launch.
Right.
So,
Well, I mean, you could go back to the scheme where it's financed by a third party.
yeah,
The way I saw that done when I originally heard about this scheme is they basically had the town, this was a town in New Hampshire, but the town paid the LLC what their current electric bills were for 6 years. And then there was a financial analysis on that whole thing of the LLC was gonna put up the money for it. They were gonna use the tax credits and the depreciation to bring down, to counter what the whole cost was, plus the amount that the town was paying in lieu of an electric bill. And at the end of it, there was a 5-figure buyout. And if you didn't buy it out, the price went up dramatically because they wanted you to buy it out because they wanted their money back to go invest in another one.
Right.
But, the thing is that's not, you don't need to put up a bunch of money or do a bond to do that. That's an alternative way of doing it, and that
Not yet.
exists.
Not
You
yet.
just have to find the investors who want to create the LLC. So that's, that can be more complicated. I was sort of imagining that the solar companies would have a stable of people who would say, they'd say, here, we have this, Harpswell would like to build a solar array. Who wants to be part of the LLC? But no, you gotta go out and find your own investors and set this thing up, and then they'll take care of it. But
yeah.
in any case, but again, it is doable. Lots of towns have done it, and it doesn't involve raising a bunch of capital up front.
And I think that whatever scheme it might be, is we're relying on this committee to come up with that scheme.
Well, right, well, and like I say, it's a moving target all the time.
Yes.
And, but,
What are candidate pieces of land other than the landfill?
Well, it's Mitchell Field, of course, and there's 200 acres here, other than the landfill. There's quite
How
a,
accessible is the 200 acres really?
depends on what part of it you want to use. Some of it comes
how about a
off-
south-facing part of it?
Yeah,
Near Mountain Road.
yep. Part of it is half of the mountain here, facing west and north. But back up in here, off the Doughty Point Road,
The last time using Mitchell Field for a town solar array was discussed, there were joint discussions between this committee and the Mitchell Field Committee that resulted in identifying I think it's about a 1 acre site, tucked under the, I don't know whether bluff is the right word, but where the raised area of the northern perimeter road is, drops down to the lower level
Right.
behind the community garden. There was agreement that there was the possibility of locating a town solar array in that location. That location is identified in the update of the Mitchell Field master plan. And so there has been, I guess you might call it, preliminary discussions about that possibility. The composition of the Mitchell Field Committee has changed somewhat since that time, but the official town plan for Mitchell Field envisions that area being potentially used for a town solar array.
Well, actually, when we had our joint meeting with the Mitchell Field Committee last month, they said, no, we never actually approved it. We said that it sounded good or something to that effect, but they never actually, according to them, it's not in the plan. Do you know that it's in the,
There's a triangular area.
supposed to be one and a, like, what,
the master plan.
it's 1.25 acres was what we had talked about, which is probably about right. We might want to consider it a little bit, see if we could do a little bit more than that to get it to, well, no, that's probably good enough for what, even with the added electricity. I mean, that was, the 1.25 acres was a little generous compared to what our target was, but that was so that we didn't have to go back and say, can we have another third of an acre or
Can we have a
something like?
couple more, please?
Can we have a little more, yes. So, but like I say, they said, oh, no, we never officially approved that. We said it could be done or something. I don't know what they were telling me. But,
Well, the suggestion, of course, the master plan is a suggestion.
Oh, okay.
And from that, it's sort of like the comprehensive plan. From that, you
It's a-
draw possible ordinances and things. So-
Okay.
But I'm
Well,
pretty sure
anyway.
it's in that master plan,
But I-
there's a suggestion in there.
right. Now, the question is, when we have this vote in November, if we get any expressions of interest and proceed to that point, is that going to poison it for, nobody wants it, more than 3 solar panels that are already in Mitchell Field, one next to the community garden and a couple on the gazebo?
Well, I think it needs to be part of that discussion at the public hearing,
Uh-huh.
that the proposal for the town's usage of 1.25 acres as opposed to 5, 10, or 15 acres of commercial panels.
And I mean, another couple of advantages to the 1.25 acres is it could be tucked in there and, there would be some solar panels, but it would not be an overwhelming thing. The other thing is that would be entirely for the benefit of the town. So, if it's offsetting the town's annual electric bills, that's a much bigger deal than the proposal that Revision gave us for the rent, to rent the land.
Yeah, right.
By
$10,000.
at least an order of magnitude, maybe two. So,
Piddling amount of money they offer.
right, so, and that was for 5 acres, and we were talking about a quarter of that.
Right, yeah.
So, I mean, those two things, one, that it would offset a much larger amount of the town's expense, and it would be much smaller, would make it, I think, make it something that you could get people to agree to.
And the land is more or less prepared and has access.
Right.
Yeah, three-phase power there, I mean.
Three-phase
everything
power, all you
around
have
it.
to do is dig a hole.
It's sunny.
It's running
I mean,
right
it's-
underneath it.
Right.
So that's what I thought.
Yeah,
Just for your information, the update of the Mitchell Field master plan, which I believe was approved by the town meeting, in section Roman numeral 13, solar array field, says, the selectmen have charged the Energy and Technology Committee with finding a suitable site on town-owned land for the installation of solar array to provide for the electrical needs of all town buildings. The Energy and Technology Committee and the Mitchell Field Committee support the site at Mitchell Field for the array that will provide the projected electric output the town needs without adversely affecting the recreation and conservation and aesthetic values of Mitchell Field.
Yeah, right, yeah.
It then has a plan after some additional verbiage that shows a triangle area labeled the solar power array site. So anybody that says the Mitchell Field Committee did not actually approve this is blowing smoke.
Okay.
This is the updated Mitchell Field master plan that the Mitchell Field Committee prepared and that was approved by the town.
okay,
Yeah.
that's
The
good.
plan was approved by the
Yeah.
town, but the solar field was not. So that's possibly what they're saying. There was never a town vote
Okay.
to have that go forward.
Okay. I mean, another possibility that I might suggest is, a pavilion, get people out of the sun and rain, where you could hold the concerts, maybe behind the admin building there, with solar panels on top. Now, that would obscure the view from some parts of probably just from the wildflower field, not really from any place where you can actually be. But, that,
Howie, let me bring you back.
what?
I mean, I think the issue tonight is not to resolve what, where, and how.
Right,
It really is, does the Energy and Technology Committee feel that the sustainability plan should continue to have a proposed activity in the near term to investigate the feasibility of creating a town-owned or town solar array? And if so, should that be made less specific than the former landfill behind the recycling center and open it up to broader consideration?
And as I said, that should be part of the discussion for the public hearing coming up.
okay.
Do you want to cover Mitchell Field with 15 acres, or do you want to do an acre and a quarter?
Well, there's that, or do we want to do something here? I
Right.
mean, we didn't consider this location because there wasn't three-phase power the last time we
Right.
talked about it.
Right.
There wasn't, there was a skinny little power line that ended 100 yards down the road.
Yeah, if we can get an acre and a quarter.
We're mixing apples and oranges here.
Yes, we
The
are.
question that's in the sustainability plan is to develop or investigate the feasibility of developing, I'm gonna call it a small solar facility to meet the town's electricity needs. That's probably, in my understanding, something around an acre of land. There now is three-phase power, et cetera, potentially available at both the recycling center site and also Mitchell Field, which is totally different. That's a town facility which the town gets the potential financial benefits from versus let's ask if anybody wants to lease up to 15 acres of land for a commercial solar array, solar farm, in which the only benefits to the town would be rent payment and anything else the town could negotiate as part of the lease arrangement. Two entirely different proposals.
You're correct. However, I think people should know that there are two options. One is to have a solar company do this, which is on the ballot. But the other one is we do it ourselves.
I think that's
either
what
at
Mark's
Mitchell-
saying, that this
Either
thing.
at Mitchell Field or here somewhere.
Right, but that's what
Right, yeah.
Mark's
So-
right. The question from the
Correct.
Sustainability Committee is, do we want them to leave this, this idea of a
Yes.
town-owned,
Yes.
a smaller town-owned array in the sustainability plan? Is that correct, Mark?
That's correct.
Okay.
And if so, is it anywhere the town could find to put it?
Well, or just take out does the current sustainability plan mention Mitchell Field? Is that the issue? Or it mentions no, it mentions
does not mention Mitchell Field.
it mentions the
points
landfill.
They're not that dumb.
The analysis to the landfill behind the recycling center.
Right. So I think that ideally, we would remove any geographic, restrictions on what we could consider, and just talk about whether the town should pursue it and look into the feasibility and does it make financial sense, and do we have someplace to do it?
Correct.
You're right, exactly.
But I'm saying, the discussion coming up for the November vote, people should know that there's the opportunity to go with a commercial system, Mitchell Field, up to 15 acres, which is what the ballot's going to say. Or we could cover the town's usage on our own, and never mind that.
Well, or just leave it at the proposal for the commercial field and make it a separate, completely separate, not even part of that discussion.
Because those who are liable to vote yes on that are looking for green energy, they're looking for, opportunities to not create carbon, and they need to know there's two opportunities here, and we could do both, but here's the plan that we were working on to cover the town's usage, and do we just want to do that?
Right. So, any discussion?
I like what you said, Howie, we can go back and say remove the geographic restrictions.
I agree.
Simple enough.
That seems the intelligent thing to do, since.
Mary Ann, do you have a copy of the sustainability plan, the current one, handy? Can we just have a look at what exactly it says now for comparison?
Yep, you want, how do you want it?
Mary Ann's got one right here.
There is under strategy area C, this comes out of the state, Maine waste plan, that strategy area C is reduce emissions through clean energy innovation. Under that, there are, 4 bullets. The first one is enter into a long-term service contract or power purchase agreement or adopt a clean power purchase policy. That's what comes out of the state. And the town's proposed action is continue to subscribe to a community solar project for the majority of the town's electricity needs until the town develops its own solar capacity, parens, if feasible, close parens. So that says, stick with your description of leasing solar energy until the town develops its own source. Second is install a renewable energy project. Again, that comes out of the state. The 3 bullets under that are undertake a feasibility study to assess if the former landfill sites behind the recycling center are suitable for use as a community solar array. If, the second bullet is, if the recycling site is feasible for solar development, develop and implement a project to construct a solar array on that site. Third bullet, explore the feasibility of installing small-scale rooftop or freestanding solar arrays in conjunction with other public buildings and facilities. That's what's in the current sustainability plan.
So it does not mention the space at Mitchell Field.
Right, right.
That's correct.
Yep.
Space at Mitchell Field was not included in the
So the,
sustainability.
so the locate,
Focused on the recycling center and putting words in people's mouth. I think the discussion around the sustainability plan is that was viewed as being potentially more viable because of the extension or proposed extension at that time of 3-phase power and the fact that 3-phase power was going to be brought into the recycling center. So essentially 3-phase power would be at the site. And second, that it was more politically acceptable
Exactly.
in that location versus other possible sites such as Mitchell Field.
Well, that's the upside, because there is no argument or fighting over putting something in an industrial area back here where you can't even see it.
right, that's generally why the,
That's the Rather than in the middle of the park.
right. That's generally why the landfills are nice places to put solar arrays. Nobody really complains about you ruining the view of my view of the landfill.
So, Howard, let me keep going. It seems to me the idea of continuing to subscribe to a community solar project until there's an alternative should continue to be in the sustainability plan. And then we get down to this feasibility study and whether that should be limited to some specific location or not.
Well, that doesn't really limit it, it just says look there first, which
the existing thing, says look at those, at the
Yeah.
landfill first.
But it doesn't say
Right.
do it.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
think I don't think we need to change that, because if the landfill turned out to be suitable, I think everyone would be really.
Yes, it's just, we walked around up there with a guy from Revision, and now his focus is somewhat different. He's looking for 5 acres, and that's less than 2.
There are 2 landfills there, by the way. There's the one where you first go in, across from the scale house, and then there's the one in the back.
Right, but
If you
still,
added the 2 together, you'd have your space, I think. You'd have your acre and a quarter.
oh, acre and a quarter,
Yeah.
not 5 acres. That's
Right,
why
right.
he was not interested in that.
Right.
We
He
sho-
might be.
Right, no, I know that, we showed that to the guy from Revision, but he did point out that the layout, at least on the nearer one, the one right next to the transfer station,
Right.
is not, it's not really big enough to make it worth doing, right? But again, his focus was looking for 5-acre sites. The other thing that made it a no-go for him is the landfills do not count for the brownfield
Right,
incentive.
right, yeah.
Anyway, so.
He had an
he was
agenda. He had a
back-
separate agenda.
He's right back to Mitchell Field, which is where he wants to put it for that reason.
Right.
But,
We probably, given that this time, we're going to seek another opinion
right.
that is tied to our needs.
Exactly. So,
So I think it's what's in your guys' laps is to look at, is there enough space there?
Mm-hmm.
What would be the cost of us doing it? The feasibility of connecting to the 3-phase and those kinds of mechanical answers that we'd all be looking for.
so Mark, is it your proposal that the section here in the multicolored thing, that this whole thing, the blue section is the summary of of the discussion at the previous RNS meeting, and then the orange section is what you think we should, which direction you think we should go from there?
Well, I'm gonna say the orange section was some ideas I sent to Mary Ann for discussion, and they aren't recommendations or whatever. My copy of the orange essentially says evaluate the feasibility, the financial feasibility, determine whether this small scale of a town facility makes sense. If so, then go look for an appropriate site and a way to develop it. So it takes it out of, go look at the recycling center landfill and makes it site generic.
Mary Ann, you,
Correct.
It also suggests that the town might in fact look at other land for a facility.
I mean, theoretically, the town could build a facility on land that it leased from somebody else, but,
Correct.
yeah, anyway, Mary Ann.
So I can comment a little bit. We, at the meeting this afternoon, picked up on the fact that any of this investigation would be done by your committee. So we're keeping it very general, top level. The first thing, that we're not going to list any particular area. Keep it very general as the blue is showing. And I will have to check the minutes to see if we tweak that wording a little bit, other than to take that one sentence out that you mentioned. And then it would be up to your committee as these opportunities arise.
But what you're looking for from us is, yeah, sure, go ahead and put this,
That piece that-
update the piece of the thing to reflect,
Yeah.
They're
And-
looking for
Essentially
the
what's here.
legwork.
And it
They're
would be
looking
the
for the
blue
legwork.
piece, basically.
okay,
And ideally, you would keep those suggestions in mind that Mark made
okay,
for going forward. But we're going to just keep it very top level.
okay.
Is that right, Mark?
That's correct.
All right.
Dave, were you saying something?
Yeah, I'm just, they're looking to you guys to do the legwork on this. You know, get the answers and,
Right, but right now, what we need to do is get something back to the RNS committee to put into the revised plan.
That the selectmen are going to see at their next meeting, not Thursday, but the following.
the one after that.
Okay.
Well, because we have a town vote coming up, there's probably going to be a few,
I'm sorry?
like every week almost.
What we have in the comprehensive plan seems,
For the sustainability plan. Many plans, many plans. Okay.
seems
How about a-
seems appropriate.
How about a motion to say we like this?
Yeah, that works.
Okay,
A motion to say we like the existing.
okay. All in favor? All right, it's unanimous. All right. Anything else? I guess not. So we're adjourned at 7:05.